We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my counterpart and co-host, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
Blake, I'm doing fantastic. I'm just so enamored by this entire saga that has been happening this week. Blake, I don't even really know how to do.
What saga is that?
Oh, the Lane Kiffin one. I don't know where this is going. I just have to say I can't recall a situation like this ever happening in the sport. You are obviously older than I am. Has this ever, can you think of a past example where there's been a week-long drama-filled, like everybody's waiting for an update, trying to decide or see where said coach decides he wants to go? I can't remember somebody that was considered for multiple openings and that was getting this much coverage.
I think the biggest one, if you remember, probably LSU was involved in as well, was the Tom Herman situation when he decided to go to Texas and instead of going to LSU. I'm old enough to remember. Here's another one. I know the LSU side of me, but I remember on College Game Day, Kirk Herbstreit coming out and saying sources, Les Miles has accepted the Michigan job, and the day of the SEC championship game that LSU would go on to win, Les Miles in his great and amazing fashion says, I have a damn strong football team, and we're really good, and we got work to do. God bless. And then walks off. I do remember the whole Lincoln Riley being promoted at Oklahoma saga kind of being a little bit different. But there's nothing that really gets the Lane Kiffin thing moving like this. I mean, you know, the Kalen DeBoer situation in Alabama 2 years ago was pretty epic.
That's a good point. But it was a little bit different, though. It was the opposite.
We're waiting for this kind of saga.
Right, and it was a job was open, and there were a million names that were being brought up during that week. It was every name from every school. A different coach was brought up. They'd get an extension. This is the other way around. You've got two massive jobs open, and the current school that Kiffin's at, and it's this kind of jockeying back and forth for who's in the lead of the race, who is actually leading. And nobody knows because Lane Kiffin is one of the least forthright people that you're ever going to hear from in the sport. So we're just sitting here hoping for something, and it's one guy who our attention is focused on.
But here's the thing. How many times have you seen flight trackers? And it's kind of
that happens all the time.
That happens all the time. But when has it ever worked?
Never.
You can't say never anymore. Because LSU proved that that's not true when his wife, his sister-in-law, or his ex-wife, his sister-in-law, by the way, Florida people that are reporting that Knox Kiffin wasn't on the plane, we literally have a picture and we have eyewitness testimony of him getting off the plane. So sorry your little feelings are hurt, but that's just not true. And his daughter getting off the plane. When has a flight tracker ever worked? And then he goes on Pat McAfee today, which I'm sure that we got to get into now, of Lane Kiffin going on Pat McAfee on a recorded situation, and Joe just not admitting anything.
Dude, this whole interview that he did was so stupid. It just kind of randomly popped up on the radar, everyone's radar today, and everyone's like, oh, I wonder if he's going to say anything. I knew right off the jump that nothing was going to come of it. Lane wasn't going to admit anything. He wasn't going to share any information. We're not going to know until according to him, fake deadline comes. Blake, I thought that this really just was an obvious opportunity for Lane to puff himself up, to look good, to get a little bit of attention off the search and talk about how much he loves his team, not Ole Miss, how much he loves his team and the success that they're having this season. It was a clear opportunity, which Pat McAfee's show has kind of turned into this. It was an opportunity for him to make himself look better and to pump himself up. That was all I got out of it.
No, young grasshopper. No, it was not. Because here's the thing that Pat McAfee did. He didn't ask him about the plane to LSU. He didn't ask him about the plane.
That's my point.
Hold on. To Gainesville. What did he ask him? So there's three main topics right now flying around Lane Kiffin. Number one, it is the plane that landed in Baton Rouge, the plane that landed in Gainesville. So he didn't ask either one of those two questions, which I'm sure that Lane asked him not to ask, which I get. What did he ask him? Pat McAfee asked Lane Kiffin if there's been placed an ultimatum in his lap that if he doesn't make a decision that Ole Miss will move on from him, which Lane Kiffin says, no, there's not. Chess, not checkers. Because now it gets to a point where now Ole Miss has got to respond. Hey, you haven't told me that there's an ultimatum. Me and Keith Carter are doing hot yoga together with a bunch of hot, sweaty babes in Oxford, Mississippi. He put Keith Carter on his own hot seat. I think that Lane did this along with Sexton to plant this in there to say, oh, you want to fire me? Oh, you want to suspend me? Take me away from my team. I double dog dare you. Everything else was about the team. Everything else was about the game and playoffs. Because if you go in order, the next question is, do you want to coach your team in the playoff? And he says yes. I think that they were trying to send a message to Ole Miss. I double dog dare you like it's a girl's sleepover when they're sweet 16 years old, saying, I dare you to kiss little Jimmy. He dared him to suspend him, and he dared him to fire him. It is Lane's way of clapping back. I'm telling you, it's his way of clapping back. Why do you ask of all three big questions? Why do you only ask the one?
Well,
Why?
I think that obviously, and this is my whole point, with McAfee has never been an interviewer that asks hard questions. He's always been an interviewer that people go on to make themselves look as good as possible.
He asked Nick Saban if he was going to do it. He asked Sean Payton if he lied to the Saints 3 years ago. I don't think he's been in a situation where
for the most part, dude, he's always been the athlete first, coach first show where people go on and it's real friendly, it's real chummy.
Okay,
there's not really a lot of investigative questions
to have him
being
on?
asked.
It's not Lane Kiffin.
No, I think it was deliberate. I think it absolutely was deliberate. I think that McAfee was smart enough to know that everybody was going to tune in to see what he was going to say, and if he was going to say anything. I understand what you're bringing up here. I don't disagree with it. I think that there clearly were some exterior motives, and I think that it does kind of. This is what I was saying about here, where he talked a lot about his team, and he even took the time to bring
Julian Lacey.
Yeah, he took the time to bring Julian Lacey onto the screen and deflect and distract for part of the interview. I think that he was trying to take pressure off his shoulders to get people to. They weren't going to not talk about Kiffin, but to try and divert. I don't think it was something that he was going to be able to do to a full degree, but it just felt like he was trying to grab a chance to make everybody a little bit less pissed off at him at the current moment and maybe ease up on Ole Miss fans or ease the minds of Ole Miss fans that have been freaking out this week. If anything, he made it worse.
But see, that doesn't make any that makes no logic to me, because anything of him saying there's nothing that he can say to Ole Miss fans right now other than I'm coming back to Ole Miss that's going to ease their mind. Him coaching in the playoff does not ease their mind, and he knows that. You know how I know? He's seen 3 days of social media posts about it. I'm not buying that. I'm buying that he's sending a shot through Jimmy Sexton to Keith Carter and saying to himself, fire me then. Oh, yeah, you think you got the big stick? Fine. Because this was recorded. And then Julian Lacey goes out there literally within an hour of the pre-recorded video and basically is hinting that Lane Kiffin is leaving via Twitter. Very cryptic. Lane Kiffin leaving retweets and videos on TikTok. Joe, I'm telling you, I'm not buying it. I'm buying that he was taking a shot. I think that this was his last chance to try to tell Ole Miss to come to the table. Come to the table and say, match what Florida's doing, match what LSU's doing, or I'm probably going to bounce.
See, we're part of where I can't like totally get behind. Why would he go out of his way to mention and bring up that he was at hot yoga with the athletic director? I feel like but this is wait,
okay.
My whole point with this is that I feel as though he's trying to make all these statements to make it seem like things are better than they actually are. I think he really was trying to make an effort to appease Ole Miss fans, to tell them to relax. I don't know if it has that many layers to it. But here's what I will say, Blake.
Joe, think the national reporters saying that there was an ultimatum given. There's many layers to this.
But no. I'm saying that there's not many layers to him coming out of the interview. He shot down the ultimatum. He shot down the ultimatum as a deliberate way to try and get Ole Miss fans back on his side. It didn't work. He was trying to point out that he's got a close relationship with the AD and they were together this morning to make Ole Miss fans feel better. But here's my whole point with this entire situation and everything that's going on. I wrote about this morning. I don't think that it's really troubling the way that this is being handled by him.
By him,
obviously, by him. We talked about how it was troubling how Ole Miss was handling this, and I think that they have mishandled this as well. I don't like how much he is turning this into an absolute complete sideshow. Like, I think that this whole thing is completely built up into a ridiculous, dramatic mess.
Right.
I also personally think that this is not far off from what he's done in the past. The Tennessee situation was a very long time ago, but it feels like it was tried to be emphasized, especially in that documentary that he did with ESPN, that he's a completely different person, that he's matured and he handles situations better. I would argue that this past week has made me completely doubt that he is still the same exact coach that he was and the same person that he was. He is incredibly narcissistic and focused on himself. And I really would implore LSU and Florida fans to be very careful about what you're getting yourself into. Because it's just like how when you have somebody, somebody who starts dating somebody who's cheating on somebody that they were seeing previously.
You think they're
you get into a relationship with somebody who was already in a relationship when you first started seeing them. That person is going to cheat in the future. I'm implying that he's 50 years old. His coaching career isn't going to be done for the next 25 or so years. You can't guarantee that he takes the job and he stays there for the next 25 years. I feel like he has constantly jumped and moved around to try and leverage himself for the best situation. And if he leaves to come to your school, it's only going to further that point. It's only going to further that he is putting himself first.
The problem with he's trying to calm down Ole Miss fans, I don't think people are understanding that. Him saying that there's no ultimatum when they're calling for an ultimatum doesn't calm them down. Him going out there and saying that there's no ultimatum in place when they're calling for Keith Carter to go out there and give him an ultimatum does not calm them down. See social media. Because when he went out there and said that there was no ultimatum given to me, they went stupid. They were tagging the AD. They were saying, of course he cowered down. Of course he doesn't want to move forward and bring Ole Miss. He's going to stand right there with Lane Kiffin. And Lane knew that. Lane, there's no way that you can tell me the ultimate Twitter troll who constantly is on social media doesn't see what his own fan base is saying about the situation when he's constantly quote tweeting and constantly saying things from the media that's around him. I understand what you're saying. The biggest part of what you said is, I do agree it is in his nature in his past. I think the Tennessee situation, quote unquote, handled differently. I mean, is USC a better job than Tennessee at the time? Because, I mean, it took a lot of balls. I don't blame him for the Tennessee situation. It took a lot of
Well,
balls.
wait. It wasn't him. It wasn't him leaving. It was the timing in which he left and the way that he handled leaving. That was what caused the protest, the uproar.
So we can't have it both ways. We can't say we're mad at coaches when they pick up and leave and don't say anything. That is exactly what he did.
It was the worst handled transition. I've spoken to people that were on that Tennessee team. It was one of the worst transitions for a coach.
Ed Orgeron was on that team, and literally they begged him. They begged him to make an address to Tennessee, and he said, out of respect to you, I will make an address. What is Lincoln Riley? What did Brian Kelly from Notre Dame got killed the way that it got leaked, and then he went back to
it still wasn't worse with Lane. People were weren't they lighting mattresses on fire at the University of Tennessee? Like, it was the biggest.
They also threw golf balls at him 2 decades later. I don't think a Tennessee fan mentally is right in the head if you're going to throw a golf ball at the guy 2 decades later. Yeah, you're probably not mentally right.
I would argue that kind of furthers the point that he mishandled the situation.
No, they're idiots. What do you mean? You can't be mad at coaches for up and leaving, and then when a guy goes to the podium and said, listen, thank you so much. LA is home to me. I built my career at LA, and then you boo him. You got to pick one. How do you want a coach to leave? Please tell me how you want a coach to leave. Because then you get on guys like Nick Saban who say, I'm not going to the University of Alabama, and then when they go to the University of Alabama, you boo them. So they can't deflect. They can't go to the podium, and they can't go up and leave. So what are they supposed to do? You took away all 3 options. What are they supposed to do? What is the right way to leave for a better job? I mean, like, what do you want him to do? And I'm just not buying that he did not know what his fan base would get pissed off about. Joe, I got to be honest. I think he's petty enough, and they've been talking so much shit that he ran out there to say that there was no ultimatum to piss him off more. That's what I think, because there's only one thing that they could say. There's only 2 things he could have said today. Number 1, I'm staying. Yay, my nipples are hard. He's staying. Number 2, no one's told me that I got to leave and I can coach the playoff and leave somewhere else. And that is pissing them off. There's no way Lane Kiffin didn't know that. None. I can't see it. How? Someone's going to have to explain to me how he knew that. Do you really think Lane Kiffin did not know that if he ran out there and said that Keith Carter didn't give him an ultimatum, that it wouldn't piss him off? Because, Joe, the rumor is what? That they're trying to put pressure on Lane to do this before the Egg Bowl so that John Summerall will leave Tulane and go to Ole Miss instead of Auburn. That is the current rumor at the current moment. Okay, Lane said you're not. They're pissed off.
Blake, I don't think that this was as deliberate of an action to have done this. I think that he was trying to calm everybody down, and I think it backfired.
Well, he failed.
I think that's what it was.
But listen. Let's say that you're right for just a quick second. Saying that you're right, it's hard for me to believe that he didn't know that saying that not having an ultimatum wouldn't piss his own fan base off. Because it's what they're calling for. Hey, if he's not going to be here, he does not coach in the Egg Bowl. He doesn't coach in the playoff. By the way, you're a New York guy. Joe Judge, the interim. Let me tell you what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it should be golden good. Joe Judge, Joe Judge is not a good coach.
Not only is Keith Carter messing this thing up from potentially an interim. All right. Okay. Pete Golding's come a long way from southeastern Louisiana. I'm just going to tell you that. And all I'm going to say is you fucked up. You fucked up big time. Because if Lane doesn't leave, that whole staff and all the people that you're talking about retaining, they have mismanaged this situation from God in heaven. Hey, Lane, 3 weeks ago, Lane, Are you going to sign it? I don't know. Week 2, Lane, are you going to sign it? I don't know. You beat Florida. Lane, are you going to sign it? I don't know. Then Joe, get his ass out the door. Get his ass out the door then. If you're so big and bad, get his ass out the door then. Suspend his ass. You ain't got the balls to do it. I want to see you have some balls. This Ole Miss is not about Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss is about Ole Miss. Show me you got balls then. And you know why you didn't go after Pete Golding? Sources. You know why? Has nothing to do with what Pete Golding was on or what happened to him in Alabama. It's because of his connection to Lane, and you're pissed off that he's going to leave you high and dry too. Sources.
I agree with you that I think that Golding needs to be the interim coach. I don't think that Joe Judge should be. I don't think Joe Judge has ever shown that he is a good head coach. The way that he handled his time with the New York Giants, they were a complete and utter mess. And I think that Golding has proven that he has elevated this defense. He's turned this defense into one of the better ones in the SEC. Why not allow for him to also audition for the job? If Pete Golding takes over and things go well, I feel like Pete Golding wouldn't be a bad head coach for your program. He has been transformative. He's been one of the best coordinators that you've had in a very, very long time at this program.
They're going to blame the off-the-field DWI situation. And ain't got nothing to do with that. I mean, it's very well chronicalized. I mean, he got arrested when he was at Alabama. It's all – I mean –
I feel like that was long enough ago, and there's been other coaches who have had the same issue, so it's not like it's
never mind. I'm going to leave that alone. Hey, here's my thing. Keith Carter, I know that you were at a bar and you saw Hugh Freeze drinking. I know you saw him drive back to the hotel.
What are you implying?
I'm implying that if it was such a big deal, why didn't you not stop it? If it's such a big deal, that's all I'm saying. All right. Let's move on here. Joe, every episode's brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. 25,000 subs on YouTube. That's how we probably should have started the show. Congratulations, good sir. We continue to climb here. We're trying to get to 30K by the end of the season. I think we can get to 30K here by the end of the season. Do us a favor if you haven't done so. Below, hit the subscribe button. But all football season, we are presented by, and Ruffino and Joe is presented by our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today on Apple or Android iPhone. Any thoughts, questions, concerns while using the app, go to FanDuel.com/RG for more details. I had to change my preferences on, by the way, on FanDuel. I think I got to go. I got to lower my limit because your boy's not been doing so great. But that is why Joe and I partner with FanDuel, mainly due to the fact that they are looking out in the best interest of you. We're proud to be sponsored by them. All right, Joe, let's get into it. You know who would love a more expanded playoff? Our good friends over at FanDuel. But Tony Batiti, the Big Ten commissioner, did a presentation allegedly today, per Ross Dellinger, in reference to an expanded playoff of 24 teams. This comes after the last couple of weeks that the Big Ten tried to make another unique move with the capital investments, but it seems like that expanded playoff is getting some pushback here. Joe, I sent this to you, but in the expansion, they want a 4-4-4-4-2-6 model. So 4 automatic qualifiers for each Power 4 team, 2 for the group of 5, and 6 at-large bids. Joe, here we go again with this stupid expanded playoff, but I kick it off to you first. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this model had been reported on previously multiple times by Ross Dellinger over the course of the beginning of the season, during the offseason. And now we've gotten to the point where there was a presentation that was presented. There is a deadline coming up imposed by ESPN on December 1st that is effectively creating this timeline where they got to decide what they're going to do. It's a couple weeks away. They got to come to a decision. It feels tight enough that we hopefully don't get any changes. Like, I've been reading this book. Bill Connolly wrote it. It recently came out, called Forward Progress. I implore any college football fan to read it because Forward Progress. Let me double check that. It came out, I think, this offseason, and it talks a lot about all the changes that have happened in the sport to better put in perspective how things are shifting. And it also one of the chapters at the very beginning of it's really intriguing because it compares the downfalls of other sports that made similar mistakes that killed them. One of the biggest ones that was brought up was how NASCAR had a very convoluted and confusing postseason structure that they implemented down the line. And NASCAR's its popularity has completely diminished. There were other million changes that it brought up, that some of them were kind of parallel to college football. But I thought that the one part that really, really connected with what we're seeing right now in college football is the way that they made it so convoluted and confusing to keep up with. And there were too many changes that happened all at once. When you change too many things, Blake, too quickly, fans get disinterested. And when you change to create a model that takes away the true spirit of the sport, fans get disinterested. You are disrespecting the integrity of the sport. At a certain point, I am all in favor of putting more resources into college football. But at a certain point, we have to recognize the diminishing returns that come after there starts to be too much being altered. We can't jump to a 24-team model. We just started with the 12-team model. Can we see if the damn 12-team model works? Can we see if the viewership and the popularity of it is worth expanding further? And if we're going to expand, go to 16 before we jump to 24. As somebody who follows FCS football, the FCS football playoff, the opening round games are meaningless. They're boring. Most of them are blowouts. The best games happen in the final 8. Stop trying to expand this stuff. It is only going to kill the popularity of the sport. It is only going to hurt it. There is really no positive outcome for this because they're just trying to chase a dollar.
What makes college football unique? I'm asking, what makes it unique?
Oh, I can name a million things.
Okay, well, it's normally the thing that makes it the most unique than anything. Every single week matters. Every single week. Because if you have more than 2 losses now, you're done. You're done. Like it's over. Joe, we have a 12-team playoff right now, as everyone knows. We're debating on the probably 9 through 12. A lot of them don't really have any business being in there right now. There's probably 4 teams that we realistically think that can win a national title right now. Now what? Now what? So now you want to expand it? Can someone please explain to me why we want to expand a playoff when 12 teams can barely get in? Why? I mean, like, their thought process is if we expand to 24 teams, then it will make every week more plausible because you're fighting for a playoff every week. You're fighting for a playoff spot. No, you're not. No, you are not. What makes this sport unique is not a playoff game. It's that every single week matters to the highest degree because there's so many slots. Joe, I got to ask a God's honest question. This is a little rhetorical. Does Tony Petitti have any idea what college football is? Does he have really any clue? Because I'm starting to get to a point where I have no clue if Tony Petitti understands what he governs. Like, I really don't. So you try to go to capital investments that got shot down. You've been trying to expand the playoffs. It looks like it's going to get shot down. You try to do play-in games. That got shut down. I don't agree with Greg Sankey to go to 16 teams. And let me tell you what pisses me off more than anything. They want to go to an AQ model. Can you name 4 teams from the ACC and the Big 12 that deserve to be in the playoff?
No.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. You don't. And everybody goes, well, Blake, if you want to make a super league, then make a super league. It has nothing to do with that. You want to expand the playoff, and you got to, with all due respect to the ACC and the Big 12, you're not the Big 10. You're not the SEC. You're just not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to go through all of that and hear it, and it hurts your little feelings. But the truth of the matter is, Joe, they want to go 4 teams from the ACC and the Big 12. Why is Tony Bettini not trying to align with Greg Sankey and say to himself, we want to stick at 12 and we get 4 automatic qualifiers no matter what? Or the most plausible thing, why don't we go at large? This AQ model and every single decision that he has made, name one good one. Name a good one, because I don't think capital investments is a good one. I don't think an AQ model is a good one. I don't think expanding to a 2014 playoff is a good one. It's not all on Petiti. Greg Sankey is a part of this too. This is a joke. It's a joke, and they are doing exactly what you said. They will make people disinterested. I don't think people will be disinterested like it were in NASCAR. I think that's a really big stretch by Bill Conley. Racing versus football is a completely different scenario and situation. But at the same time, people will get disinterested when games don't matter. When blowouts keep happening. Newsflash, you son of a guns. There were blowouts in round 1. These teams got blown out. Newsflash, Peter Pan. Newsflash. Well, the score between Penn State and Boise State was close. Joe, I don't want to hear this shit. They got blown out. SMU barely could get past the 50-yard line in the first half. Barely. What are we doing? What are we doing? If an SMU team can't get past the 50-yard line, you want to expand it more? You want to get 4 teams from the ACC and 4 teams from the Big 12? Do you know who those teams are, by the way?
No, off the top of my head.
Okay. Go look at the standings. Go look at the standings. You want Iowa State in the playoff right now? Joe, they're going to be one of the lower-ranked teams. You want them going up against one of these bigger SEC or Big Ten teams? It's a joke. It is a joke.
This is my whole point. They're not doing it for competitive reasons.
They're doing it for money.
It's not being done to create more matchups and to increase the amount of teams that are in the hunt for the playoff. We're right now at the perfect sweet spot for that argument. There are at the current moment arguably 20-ish teams that are in the mix to get into the college football playoff. It's probably a little bit closer to 16, but at the beginning of November, in the last week of October, we could have gone as deep as 30. There were teams that were hovering, and it's the SEC, I think, has been a really good example of how when you have meaningful games and you've got good teams in the conference, every single week has been an elimination week. We thought certain teams were good. They lost. They got knocked out of the mix. Tennessee gets knocked out by playing poorly against Oklahoma and Alabama. Texas gets knocked out for now after the way that they played against Georgia. It has created these elimination style events that have made every single ranked on ranked game must-watch TV. The same thing happens with the Big Ten too. You have Iowa playing Oregon. Oregon's banged up. Their season's on the line. Iowa's still in the hunt. Iowa then now has another opportunity to redeem themselves against USC. USC proves that they still deserve to be in the hunt. Those style of games have made it incredibly compelling. But when we've got these 4-loss teams playing one another and they're slopping around, who cares? On top of this, big thing that happens in college football, guys get banged up. There's gonna be teams in the playoff that don't have their starting quarterbacks in, and they're gonna barely be hanging on by a thread. I find it hard to believe that, as you said, we have 24 teams that are competitive enough to go out there.
Joe,
it's not a competitiveness. Wait, let me just finish here. It's not a competitiveness argument here. It is a matter of just trying to grab as much money from advertisers as possible to get ESPN to pay as much money as possible for more of these games. It all comes back to my initial point. When you realize that there's more ways to make money, it does not mean that you have to grab every single new avenue. We are in a perfect position right now, I think, for the next 10 years of college football. If we keep changing shit, it is only going to confuse newcomers that want to get involved in the sport, and it's going to turn away the true original fans that loved the uniqueness of the sport. If this turns into a a college basketball tournament, I don't think as many. I agree with you. It's not going to turn as bad as NASCAR, but I think that there would be a lot of college football fans that are just going to say, F it, I will watch the NFL if that's what they're trying to do.
I think Tony Batiti needs to be fired. Listen.
I'm sure Michigan's AD would love for that.
I'm not backing down off of this. He does not understand the sport. Joe, you got a TV guy who you brought in as your commissioner and thought he wasn't going to push more TV deals on you. Big Ten, I'm sorry, you don't have a former sitting AD. You don't have a sports guy at the helm. You have a TV revenue guy. I got to be real with you. I think the Big Ten's got to join together and get him out. I'm over this. He keeps Joe, there is no way in human hell that you know the sport the way that you think that you know the sport and say to yourself, hey, let's expand the playoff and let's put 4 ACC teams and 4 Big 12 teams in there. Joe, we don't have 6 teams right now that can win an Natty. We don't. We speculate on it. We talk about it like, oh, Alabama's not out of it. If they can't find a run game, they can't win a Natty. Newsflash, they can't. If A&M keeps lollygagging around, they can't win it. If Oregon can't find a way, well, they don't have receivers right now that can play. They might not be able to win it. Here comes Elks when I say this. Do we know who the real Ohio State is? Do we know what they do during adversity? Do we know? Because right now we have no clue. So I bring all of this up to just say the simpleness of this. He's got to go. I don't like calling for people's jobs, but this is enough. This is ludicrous. This is insane. This is dumb. You thought a TV revenue guy was going to not come in here and try to bring in more TV revenue. Joe, he's trying to bring in capital investments, brother. That should have been the final straw. It should have been the final straw. And listen, he's not the only one. Greg Sankey, if you expand this to 16, I'm coming for you too. I'm coming for you too. Joe, I don't think we're at a sweet spot. I think they got to reduce this thing to 8. And I think they got to take out the G5. They got to take out all the ACC Big 12 qualifiers. They got to take out qualifiers in general. Take it out in general. It's a simple.
I don't know if we're going to get all those changes, but I think that we're on the same page here. I think Petiti, I gave him the benefit of the doubt at the beginning of his hiring, but I think that he's shown that his priorities do not align with what's best for the future of the sport.
No, it doesn't. I mean, Joe, again, the AQ model is dumb. Do we understand how dumb that is? That's the expanding the playoff. Fine. Let's have the conversation. Sell me your pitch. Then he comes to you with AQ model. I mean, Joe, just a newsflash. There's a chance USC could be on the outside looking in, and there would be an ACC team in over them with an automatic qualifier. You get that.
Yeah, that's what's ultimately.
Here's another one.
Troubling.
Texas is probably going to be on the outside looking in. Or Vanderbilt. You mean to tell me that you think that there's teams in the ACC and the Big 12 that are better than them? So Big 10, SEC, at some point, you got to stop fighting one another and align on this.
Well, that's not going to happen.
No, that's
just not going to happen.
All right, we got a lot of people in here. Guys in the chat, girls in the chat. Would you align with the conferences if it meant no expansion? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Well, but we don't control that, though. That's Petiti and Sankey that have to get on the same page.
Doesn't control it. There's a reason it hasn't expanded, because if he got his way, his conference would be taking capital investments.
Yeah, but that's my point, though, is that he wants to do something that's polar opposite of what Sankey wants, so they're never going to agree.
No,
they clearly don't.
Stay at 12. It's got to stay at 12. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need to stop trying to expand this.
I'll go nuclear. All right, let's move on here. Boy, there's a couple of thumbs up here. We'll see. Joe, I don't even know how to start this. Pete Nakos of On 3 is reporting that Sam Levitt is expected to hit the portal and potentially not play for the rest of the year. It was leaked on Twitter, the conversation to Sam Levitt's agent, which also basically confirmed that, quote unquote, he had not made a decision yet. Joe, when you think of this Sam Levitt thing, you see everything that's going on in this from Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham did come out and said he didn't want players that didn't want to be here. What do you think about this Sam Levitt situation?
Well, Levitt's brother, who represents him, came out and tried to make it seem like that he did not intend to leave Arizona State. He posted a screenshot of a conversation between him and Nakos, and actually, I don't think Levitt's brother realized. He kind of confirmed what the report was.
1,000% confirmed that.
He confirmed the report because the report was he has not officially decided at this time. He didn't say anything about how they weren't considering doing it. That's what the report was, is that he was considering leaving. There's two sides with this. Levitt entering the portal is something that makes sense because he is such a big name player and he's such a physically gifted athlete, and the rumors of him potentially entering last year, him making the jump to the NFL as he was brought up as a draft prospect, but didn't really take the step that people were hoping for, and he got pretty banged up this year. Him getting a chance to go to a bigger program, I think, is right for his future.
Agreed.
Go to a team that has a history of developing quarterbacks, take the opportunity to learn in the right system, and go to the NFL. One of the projections that's been put out there is how amazing, actually two of the projections is how amazing would it be if he went to Indiana, and how amazing would it be if he went to Oregon. Both of those teams would be perfect for him based on the track record of quarterback performance that they have had. USC would be intriguing too if Maeva ended up declaring, although they have Longstreet, if they think he's ready to go at the current moment. But the other part with this, I'm almost not even focused on Levitt because it makes sense. It's something that you hear murmurs about, and it's, oh, okay, this is the direction that this is going in. It's the future and how the sport's working. I feel like that this is a pretty foreboding sign that Dillingham is strongly in consideration for some of these big jobs. There was I think it was today when he was speaking to the media, he had this whole long diatribe about how he wants local businesses to sign his players to NIL deals. A little odd, like a little like, okay, like we get that you're trying to advocate for your team, but so the quiet part with that is you don't have enough money to operate the way that you wish you could operate.
Correct.
Blake, I really think that Dillingham is being more seriously considered in these openings for these major programs than people realize. And from the way that this is kind of unraveled, I believe he's been offered a contract extension and he hasn't signed it. He's one of the few coaches that has not signed that extension. Brohm also, I don't think, has signed an extension either, which is another one of these guys in a similar situation. Is that his alma mater that is also in the mix. But
yeah, Brom's going to sign, though.
Dillingham intrigues me because I think Arizona State is one of those teams that has their hands tied behind their back that just does not have the money to become a real national player.
Last week on AYS, and I see like Stephen Young in here, he would probably attest to this. I got obliterated by Arizona State fans last week.
Really?
Because I said, I don't give two Rudy Poos what Kenny Dillingham says. Whether he stays at Arizona State or whether he leaves, the truth of the matter is during your bye week, he fielded phone calls from big-time institutions about their head coaching opportunities. A couple of them were in the SEC. And I'm not guessing on that. So I say this, stay with me here. Coaches lie. Assistant coaches lie. ADs lie. Staffers lie. You know who doesn't lie a lot? Players. They're going to tell you what's going on. The whole Kenny Dillingham, I'm going to talk about this a lot tonight for the backup plan for LSU thing. Joe, I'm not buying it. He's constantly having to go out there and say, we need more money. We need more money. We need more money. He's done it 6 times this year. Would you like to know the dates? Because I got them. Okay, this is just the month of October. Are you ready? October the 4th, October the 7th, October the 12th, October the 15th, October the 17th, October the 19th. Do you want me to keep going? Because
we can add today to that list.
You can add today to that list. So every single time that he's getting into the podium, directly or indirectly, he is calling out Arizona State saying we need more. Now, I like Kenny Dillingham. Joe, he's my age. So it would be wild if he became the head coach of a big-time institution in the SEC. I'd just be like, how do you even – Joe, that's like me becoming the head coach of LSU, just as an example.
That could happen.
No, the only way that it's happening is on College Football 26. It ain't happening in real life. He is shopping himself. Players don't lie. Do I think Sam Levitt is being given opportunities at other big-time institutions? Yes. But regardless if he stays or not, he is putting his name in this coaching carousel to see what he can get. So I'm with you. Yeah, you're right. You're 1,000% right. He's trying to see if he can get an LSU, an Auburn. Does Florida get down their list enough to get to Kenny Dillingham? Does LSU? Because somebody's going to miss out on Lane Kiffin. Somebody's going to miss out on John Summerall. What does Arkansas do? Which we didn't talk about this. James Franklin went to Virginia Tech. Joe, I'm hearing it's because that they would not promise more money to their assistant coaches or in NIL to James Franklin. Why they completely whiffed. Completely whiffed. And nobody with the right mind is going to go take that job until you give them those promises. Arizona State fans, you're going to come in here and you're going to tell me I'm wrong. And I'm going to ask you to go around and ask LSU people who know what the truth of this is.
Well,
you want to know the truth?
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is during the bye week when he sent his entire staff and his entire team home and gave them the week off, it wasn't for their benefit. It wasn't because Jeff Sims ran for over 200 yards. It's because he didn't want you around to know what he was doing. The whole my mom and in-laws live on the same street. Brother, there would be moving trucks up there tomorrow if LSU or Florida or Auburn needed it too. Tempe's Tempe. This is the SEC.
Yeah. They don't have the bread to keep.
By the way, hold on 1 second. What's Penn State going to do? Even if it's Penn State, do you mean to tell me that Kenny Dillingham wouldn't go to Florida, Penn State, LSU, or Auburn? You're smoking crack.
Well, Chesney is one of the biggest names that keeps getting brought up for Penn State, which I think that would be a perfect fit. I think that Chesney is a great coach with the way that he elevated Holy Cross and the way that he's built JMU up to the point, or not built up, but extended their success since Signetti left. I think he's going to be the Penn State coach, but it's to your point. There's so many openings that someone like Dillingham needs to get pulled away. Here's one other part about this that doesn't get brought up. When you've got a guy as young as Dillingham, that's more unique than
34 years old, by the way.
I don't know how old Key is at Georgia Tech or Lee is at Vanderbilt, but he's so young, he could leave and come back. Seriously, he could leave, get fired, and go back to Arizona State. There is a world where in the next 30 years, he could have an opportunity to go back to Arizona State.
But let me throw
I think they'd be happy to take him back.
Well, you say that, and people say, no, there would be no way. Well, Bobby Petrino's the interim coach at Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly the point.
He wrecked a motorcycle with a blonde with big hoo-haws on a motorcycle. Anything can happen. How would you want him to leave?
What do you mean?
We just got in a fight on how people do this. So how should he leave?
It was very Lane Kiffin specific. I'm
okay,
just
but
saying
how
that
should he leave? Because here's the truth. He's lying to your face. Lane Kiffin at least has the nuts to not really tell you and lie to your face. Kenny's lying to their face.
I think we're getting a little too aggressive with doing he's lying to their. He's got to protect himself.
He told his team that he's not going anywhere when I know that he's talking to other teams about their head coaching opportunities. If you're going to stay, you're not talking to somebody else. That's like, baby, I ain't cheating on you. Meanwhile,
Wait, but hold on. Okay, but we can't.
Yeah.
You can't frame it as if what Lane was doing was so much better. He used his star running back as a prop in an interview to make everybody to stop looking at him. Like that to me was really effed up. By the way, we didn't really talk about that, but like from that angle, kind of effed up that he tried to do that.
It is. I don't disagree with that. He's lying to their face, though. He's lying to their face.
I don't know if I classify it as lying to their face.
Telling your team that you will be at Arizona State, and when you take a next job, is that a lie? Yes or no? When you're actively asking other programs if they would like for you to be their next head coach, and when you told your players the week before you're not leaving, is it a lie?
He's not telling the truth, but what else is he supposed to do in this situation?
Okay, goes back to my point with Lane Kiffin. What do you want Lane to do?
But
God,
I don't want to relitigate that argument. I don't really feel like doing that.
Do you want to get to super chats or do you want to get to this game preview?
Well, we only have one super chat, so why don't we rip through the game preview really quick?
SMU versus Louisville. Big battle in the ACC this weekend. When you look at SMU, when you look at Louisville, Joe, how do you preview this game?
SMU is a 2.5-point favorite over on FanDuel. Blake, I've been really disappointed with the way that Louisville has performed as of late, and the way that they didn't show up offensively against Clemson was extremely, extremely troubling. They have had a lot of inconsistency, and a lot of that inconsistency comes through Miller Moss, who at the beginning of the year, I talked about how I thought he was not as good of a quarterback as many people thought that he was. He's got 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions this season. His saving grace has been being able to turn to Chris Bell, who was phenomenal this year. Like, I think one big aspect of this matchup and why I really think that SMU has the edge in this one and why they're going to start to climb up in these ACC rankings as the ACC championship is right around the corner. I really think that SMU, with the way that they played against Miami, really emphasized that they have a tremendous run defense. And Louisville has had a lot of issues getting things going on the ground. And it feels like them not being able to run the ball, and now that we don't really know if Isaac Brown's going to play, not being able to run the ball has hamstrung them offensively. I think that this is another situation where they step into and they have trouble moving the rock, and we start to see Kevin Jennings perform and have another great performance and be able to spark a victory for them. Like, I don't have a lot of faith in this Louisville team because I feel as though the way that they have performed against Cal and the way that they played last week against Clemson shows that they are on the downward trajectory.
Can SMU cover anything? Like, if there was a blanket in front of them and a child was on a couch and they said, cover me with this blanket, do you think they could cover them?
We said that before they played against Miami, and they did exactly that.
Yeah, but they didn't do to the other teams that they've played either, and that's why they're 134th in the country in passing yards allowed. Now, they are very opportunistic when it comes to interceptions. One of the best teams in the country when it comes to having interceptions. But, Joe, with all due respect to Malachi Toney, Chris Bell's a different beast. Ask Miami. Ask Miami. He's a different beast. This isn't the same. Now, you got two teams that did go up against Miami that beat them. Joe, I got to be honest with you. I know that Louisville's kind of having their ups and downs right now. And I love Rhett Lashlee and what he's building. But, man, I need to see this secondary against another quality team slow a passing game down. I really do. Because I don't think Carson Beck is playing to the point where he needs to play to. What about NC State last week? I don't think he's playing to the point where you go up against an SMU and he strikes the fear of God in you. Chris Bell strikes the fear of God in me. Now, Kevin Jennings, this whole team, I get that Isaac Brown might be out. I mean, look, I get all of that. But the bottom line is, Joe, at some point when you're giving up this many yardage in the pass game, you're going to get beat. And it's what's been happening to them.
Well, okay, Blake, before we kind of expand upon that, their last 3 games that they have played a lot better with their pass defense. Against Wake Forest, they only allowed 216 yards. Against Miami, they only allowed 274. And against Boston College, they only allowed 284. So they're three better performances over the last 3 games that they've had.
So against a 1-9 team and against a team whose first-string quarterback was out.
What, you're talking about Wake Forest?
Yes. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude. Yeah.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying that
Joe,
they've had issues, but
1-9.
I'm not trying to use Boston College as the driving point of evidence. I'm mostly emphasizing the Miami game because that was completely against our expectations. They actually showed up and played a really solid defensive game against a Miami team that we were expecting to completely gash them and rip them apart. I also think here's the biggest part with this, that
the same thing with Louisville too.
This is the biggest thing that we, I think, are maybe mischaracterizing here. SMU's front seven is quietly maybe the best in the ACC this season. They have 32 sacks on the year.
Fair.
This is an opportunity for them to really flex their muscles. Maybe their defensive backfield isn't as good as it could be, and they've had performances where they've given up a lot of big yards. The Clemson game was an example of this. I think that front seven, having multiple guys with over 5 sacks, is where they end up getting home, and they end up getting all over Miller Moss. Miller Moss, to me, is not a guy that steps up to a challenge when he's getting pressured and he succeeds in that setting. I feel like I've seen him crumble in a lot of those spots, and it showed up in the Clemson game where it felt like he was being constantly pressured and he was struggling.
Yeah, I mean, to turn to that side, I do agree with you. Miller Moss, when pressured, scares me more than a baby being held by a toddler. I mean, listen, you get to a situation where I think that's the second thing that I look for. The key for this for SMU, can you get to Miller Moss? And when and if you do, he will make bad decisions. The lack of run game in certain situations has really hurt them, and especially Miller Moss. But I'm with you there. I don't know where to lean here. I really don't, because both of them have been so inconsistent. Now, you know what they've been? They've been consistently inconsistent. Both of them. I have no idea, because the last time I saw a team get after Miller Moss, Chris Bell went nuclear. And if you're going to, I think he's the top 2 wide receiver in the country. There, I said it. I'm sorry. Ban me.
You've said that about a lot of guys. You've said that about, so that means he would be above Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon. I think he's top 10.
I'll put him above Carnell Tate.
I think it's a little too high. I like him. He's a top 5 receiver for me. I think he's a top 10 receiver. He's a great receiver, but I don't know.
He's going to New York, by the way.
Sure. We'll see.
When you do get after Miller Moss, which I think that you will, I think you're going to have success. Look, I really do think that this is a coin flip. I don't know where to go here.
I lean SMU. I think that the physicality up front is something that we can always turn to as a constant, and to be able to produce that many sacks, we've done it previously, it will show up in this game.
All right, let's get to some super chats here, Joe, before we exit stage right. Harley Hogg became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Harley. Joe can send you the link to the Discord channel. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. I can't see this name. Rolexer with a $2 super chat says, Lane never stays. Careful what you wish for, Blake. Here's the thing with LSU that people don't understand. This is going to be LSU's 4th head coach since 2016. What do you mean I don't have consistency? The one thing I haven't had is consistency. That doesn't bother me at all.
Well, but that's my point, though, is that you sign up for a guy who's been willing to jump like that and just leave if a better opportunity.
For 6 years. If he gets to December.
This is the longest that he's been somewhere. Right. That's my point. And he's been here for 6 years. He's developed an actual foundation.
What other job has come open that he would leave LSU for? The way you're rolling, other than the NFL, which other?
That's my point. I think that he comes off as somebody who maybe would get bored. Like, it legitimately feels like if he goes to LSU and things are going well, but he doesn't win national titles, and maybe he starts to feel a little pressure, and they're going 10-2, and things are going well, but they just can't get across the finish line. phone rings for an NFL job that he doesn't take it and think, you know what, this is my next chapter. This is what I need to do.
We've been there.
He's unpredictable, but Blake, that's my point. I'm not saying that you might have been there, but why would you want to sign up for a guy that isn't?
Do you think Marcus Freeman's going to be at Notre Dame for 25 years?
No, I don't, but we're not in the middle of a coaching search.
Yeah, but at some point you will be, because he's not going to be your forever coach.
Well, what if he leaves in 4 years?
Okay.
That's my point, is that he has had such inconsistency.
And what if he stays at LSU for 6 years? What if he stays at Florida for 6 years? I mean, Joe, it'd be the longest.
But this is my point. He's so unpredictable. There's just so much unpredictiveness.
No shit.
Unpredictability.
No shit.
Him more than any coach.
Been there.
I don't think it's a.
Bring me Lane Kiffin.
Okay.
See you tomorrow. Peace.